This week's Parsha is Parsha Teitzei, and it opens up telling us that when the men go to war, if a man should desire one of the women that they take captive, what he must do in order to be able to take her as a wife. The next thing the Torah tells us about is that if a man has two wives, a beloved and a hated, that he cannot favor the son of the beloved woman, that he must give the son of the firstborn son of the hated woman, his rightful inheritance. And then the next thing we're told about is a ben sorer umorer, is the rebellious son. That if there is a son who doesn't listen to the mother and the father, and he's a glutton and a drunkard, and he's just out of control, they take him to the courts and they stone him to death. Now, these things don't apply to us today because, as we see, the IDF does not grab women, take people captives and just take women for their wives. It doesn't happen. And the rabbis forbade men from having two wives, so we don't have that situation. And the sower or mower, the rebellious son, we're told, never was and never will be. That we just learn it in depth to see the lessons that can be gleaned from it, and we study it and get reward for it. But there are many deep psychological lessons that we can learn from these mitzvot. And I'd like to start off with Rashi, who says that if the man takes something that doesn't belong to him, and you start off by doing something wrong, that this woman will end up being the hated wife, and out of that will come a rebellious son. And as we know and as we see in our lives, is if we do one thing wrong, it can lead to another, and things can spiral out of control really quickly, and we get ourselves in these messes and holes that we can't seem to get out of, that just perpetuate themselves. But I'd like to look a little deeper into what Rashi is saying, and why does that happen? Why do things take such a turn for the worse? And I think something I've seen played out in real life is that when we do something impulsive, when we grab something that isn't ours, whatever it is, in a relationship, in a land, in a job, whenever we get into something based on some superficiality, some externality, because of the way something looks, or a lust, or a drive, or power, or money, and we're doing things based on these drives that don't have any depth, and we take things that aren't ours, we end up viewing whatever the object of that we have taken, or the situation that we're in, we end up viewing it with disdain, because what it represents to us is the lower selves. What represents to us is something we took, or something that we did that wasn't right, and that we know isn't good for us, and that wasn't right, and that the situation was wrong. And every time we look at that thing, what reflects back to us is our low base selves that doesn't feel right and doesn't feel good, and we don't want to see that. And so that if we want things to remain everlasting, relationships, or the land that we choose to live in, or a job, that we have to choose it based on, does this fulfill the higher true essence of who I am, and fit into the big picture of what I want my life to be, and not just grabbed impulsively to fulfill our base desires. And only when we do that can we have a full, meaningful life. So here's to an introspective Shabbos, and to a good life based on good decisions. Shabbat Shalom.